For the following logarithmic function, graph the function, give the domain and range and interval notation, and write the equation of the asymptote. So in order to work this through for any logarithmic function that we need to graph or find asymptotes or domain and range for, it's best to really just have a clear idea of what your standard logarithm looks like. So the graph of a basic logarithm would have an asymptote at the y-axis, and there would be a single point, 1 unit in front of the asymptote on the x-axis, where the graph goes from increasing very rapidly to increasing not quite so rapidly. So with that, what we can do is we can um, take changes such as added constants outside of the logarithm, make vertical shifts, and any sort of added constants on the inside of the logarithm make horizontal changes, horizontal shifts that is. So a horizontal shift would move the asymptote left or right, but since there's no horizontal shift here, the asymptote for this particular logarithm is going to be right along the y-axis. Now, the point that is 1 unit in front of the asymptote and lies on the x-axis is going to be moved. Since there is a vertical shift, and that's going to go up 3 units. So just whatever that number is, that's where that moves. And after the point, the logarithm grows not quite so rapidly, and before the point, it grows very quickly. It descends down to negative infinity very fast, that is. Now, the base also affects the shape of the logarithm, but you don't need to be too concerned with that when you're sketching these graphs. Effectively, it would take your graph, and if you go up 1 unit and to the right 1 unit, I missed that point just a little bit, but that's okay. That would be another point that your graph would pass through for a base 2 logarithm. For base 3 or other bases, it would shift differently, but the only ones you'll do in this course are base 2. So there's a very good graph that will work great. The domain and range, now that we have the graph, are fairly easy to identify. If you'd like to just simply memorize a couple of things, one thing you could memorize is that the range of any logarithmic graph is negative infinity to positive infinity, and you don't really need the graph to see that. The domain, however, is restricted. It's restricted from the asymptote, so in this case from 0, but not including 0 because we never actually reach that asymptote, and then going to positive infinity because it's defined on the right side of that asymptote. Then the equation of the vertical asymptote, the equation of any vertical line is just x equals a constant. So it's x equals the value on the x-axis that the asymptote passes through. And since it's passing through the origin, it's just x equals 0.